Well, hello again, welcome to our reading of Thucydides Book 1, the Pentakontaitia, and we're up to chapter 99, which starts here at Aitiai de alai te esan ton apostasion kai megestai hai ton phoron kai neon ek diai kai lipostration e toi egeneto. So the other reasons, so there were other reasons for the revolts, the apostasis, and so there were other reasons for the revolts, and the greatest ones, megistai, understand the verb to be, were high, goes with the ek dei, and this is the falling short or the arrears. So the greatest ones were the arrears of the tributes and ships, so they weren't paying their debts on time, kai lipostration, and the desertion of the army, e toi egeneto, literally if it happened. Toi without the accent is this tini, without the accent the indefinite. So literally, if it happened to anyone. So we'd say whenever it took place. For hoiga Athenaioi, for the Athenians, eprason akribos. Well, they exacted their affairs akribos meticulously. That is, they wanted the exact amount of money to be paid, and exactly at the time they had specified. So for the Athenians were, we might say, strictly exacting, and they were peroi, well, a cause of grief. So they were oppressive, perhaps. They were a cause of grief. And we move down to the participle here, pros agontes tas anankas, which is something like applying compulsion, bringing to bear necessities, so applying compulsion, and we get two dative participles, to those not accustomed nor wishing teleporen, to suffer hardship. Esan depos kai alos hoi Athenoia uketi homoios en hedene akontes. We get this idiom here, pos kai alos, which is something like, and in other respects also, poses that indefinite, in other respects perchance also, the Athenians were, uketi, no longer, archontes, ruling, en hedene, well, pleasantly. I think this is really adverbial here. They were no longer pleasantly ruling homoios in the same way. Kai ute sun estratuon apotu isu, raidion te prosegestai ein autois, we're going to read here, rather than autois, tus apistamenus. So they were no longer ruling pleasantly in the same way, nor did they campaign together, to get that son into it, were they no longer campaigning together, understand, with the allies, from on an equal footing, we would say, apotu isu. So they were no longer campaigning together on an equal footing, and understand the verb to be, it was easy. Now I'm going to read autois here for autais, for them, that is for the Athenians, pros agestai, to, well, it's to bring to heel, really, to subdue those who were revolting. Hon autoi, aitioi egeneto hoi sumakoi, very important little sentence here. So for these things, so the hone is referring back to all of the above, So the allies themselves were responsible for these things. So it's understand things of which the allies themselves were responsible. Diaga ten apoknesin tauten ten strateon hoi players auton. For, we're going to explanatory gar here, it was because of this apoknesin, literally shrinking back from, perhaps reticence, where perhaps withdrawal from campaigns, the majority of them, so because of this shrinking back from engaging with them in campaigns, the majority, hoploios auton, the majority of them, now our main verb's going to be a bit further, but I'll do it as it comes. The majority of them, in order that they might not be ap oiku, away from home, taxanto, this is the middle here, and we've got, unfortunately, the next page, top of the next page, we have ferrain. So we have to just keep that word in mind. The ferrain is the infinitive, which is depending really on this verb here. So the majority of them, in order that they might not be away from home, they assessed themselves. Ferrain here is in the sense of to pay a tribute, connected with phoros. They assessed themselves to pay the tribute of the tohikanon analoma. This is from connected with analisko, to spend. So this is the assigned cost, the cost that was coming to them from hikneomai. So the assigned cost, so that they assessed themselves to pay tribute in regard to the assigned cost with kremata, money, antiton neon, instead of ships. And this, of course, became the great problem. They didn't want to send ships, and they didn't want to send their men, they didn't want to go away from home, so they simply took the, well, easy way out, which turned out to be a disaster, and that is to simply pay money. Kai tois men Athenaios euxe tot nautikon apotes dapanes hein hekenoi sum feroien. And the nautikon, the naval power, increased for the Athenians from the dapane, literally from the expense, so from the money, which ekenoi, they themselves, that is the allies, which those ones, that is the allies, sum feroien, contributed. But we get a nice men and debt here too, so the navy increased for the Athenians, but they themselves, whenever they might revolt, kathistanto, they found themselves in a war, literally they were established in the war, so they found themselves in the war, aparaskioi, unprepared, kai aperoi, and inexperienced. And that is the end of chapter 99. We'll move on to chapter 100. And this is the Battle of Eurymedon. You might be interested in Googling or looking up the famous Eurymedon vase, which was found, and it has been described by some as a pornographic representation of the defeat of the Persians at Eurymedon. Anyway, I leave you to look up the Eurymedon vase and you can make up your own mind about it. The Battle of Eurymedon took place in 466 or 469, and it appears to have been seen as a major victory for the Allies. the Persians had begun to assemble a large army or navy near the place, presumably intending an attack. And so this is another very important success for the Athenian power base. Egenetot demetatauta, and it came to pass after these things also, Hay goes with the Pedzomakia and Naumakia, that the land battle at the Eurymedon river in Pamphylia and the sea battle of the Athenians and their allies against the Medes, against the Persians. So it took place, and the Athenians, Nikon, prevailed ente aute hemera on the same day, and photera in both campaigns. So there's a land battle and a sea battle, and the Athenians beat them on both fronts. Genitive absolute, with Cimon, the son of Miltiades, acting as general, strateguntos. Kai Halon from Hierio, and they took the triremes of the Phoenicians, and they destroyed Taspasas es Diakosias, all of them, as many as 200. Seems a large number. Chronoi de husteron xonebe thasias auton apostesai. And in time afterwards, so we might say in a short time afterwards, it occurred that the Thasians, those from Thasos, revolted from them. De enecthentas, from Diaphero, so having quarrelled regarding Tone Emporion, these are the trading posts, Ente Thrace Antiperas, in Thrace opposite, so in the part of Thrace which is opposite the island of Thasos. Thasos is just below the mainland, and of course that whole area was famous for its mines and metallurgy, going right back even to the time of Archilochus. So they quarrelled regarding these trading posts on Thrace, which was directly opposite Thasos. So they quarrelled over these and over the metallu, the mine, which enemeto, so that it's plural here, so it's agreeing with both of these things. So these things which enemeto, they used to look after, so which they used to manage. Kai nausi men epithason plusantes hoi Athenaioi naumakia ekrateson, kai esgen apebeson. So the Athenians, having sailed by ship against Thasos, ekrates, and they prevailed in a sea battle, and Apebesan, from Apabino, they disembarked on the land. Epi de Strymona pempsantas murios oiketoras auton kaiton sumakon hupatus autus chronos hos oikiuntes tas totikalumenas enia hodus. Nun de Amphipolin. I'll just hold it there, come back to there. So they disembarked on the land, and having sent to the Strymone, this is the river there, 10,000 oiketoras, these are settlers of themselves and of their allies, hupotus autus chronos, at round about the same time, Hos oiki untes. This is hos plus future participle here. This is from oikisdo, and it's that Attic future, and it's the Attic future participle here. So with the intention of settling tas toti kalumenas enia hodus, the land which at that time being called the 9 ways. So it's plural here because it's agreeing with hodus, it's feminine plural participle. So those places which at that time were called the 9 roads or the 9 ways. Nunde Amphipolin, but now Amphipolis. Ton men enia hodon autoi ekratesin, that they themselves took control of the 9 ways, has ekon edonoi, which the Edonians used to hold, so perhaps just simple past, which the Edonians had possession of, proselthontes, and proceeding further, es Mesogaon, into the interior of Thrace, Diephtharesan, they were destroyed in Drambeskos, in Edonian Drambeskos, by the Thracians, by all of the Thracians. So Thracians were many different tribes, but so this is by the united, perhaps, Thracians, Hois, for whom, unfortunately we get a page break here, there is a participle. I'll just zip forward to see what's here. We get in, this is part of the square brackets, enia hodu ktidzomenon is the participle which goes with chorion. So for whom the land being founded, and then in brackets the 9 ways, was polemion, a hostile act. So for whom the resettling of the land was a hostile act. And that is the end of chapter 100.